Hey, hometown Hollywooders. I'll never say that again. It has been a little while. I don't want to draw this out, but I haven't been posting episodes as regularly because, 2020 happened all at once. My home was hit by not one, but two hurricanes, and because of that, we were displaced from our home for about a month. I quit my job. I started doing freelance work. We had to evacuate our home again because of some plumbing issues, so it's been kind of rough. Luckily, we are safe, happy, and I'm finally in a place where I can start doing these again. I've got several awesome guests lined up, so stay tuned because I know you're going to want to hear their stories. I won't delay this any more than I already have, so let's get right into the show.
Hang on, let me fix my mic. Alrighty, coming in 3, 2. Welcome to the Hometown Hollywood Podcast, where God, that's such a douchebag sounding thing. Sorry, sound like it. Welcome to the Hometown Hollywood Podcast, where you can find advice, inspiration, and strategies for success from talented people that are making a name for themselves inside the film industry, but outside of the major film cities. Here's your host, Travis Myers.
Perfect. Today's guest is Logan LeBlanc, a director and director of photography from Lafayette, Louisiana. One thing I noticed about Logan is that he may be super laid back and talk about his work like it's no big deal, but once I began to get deeper into the conversation, I began to realize what a freak of nature he is on a talent level. To be able to pull off the level of work that he does when he's both directing and DPing the same project has to be absolutely exhausting and is something not a lot of people can do. In this interview, you'll learn about how selling your prized guitar can start a film career, a lot of peanut butter references, adapting your style to fit the direction of the project, diamond-studded, pressure-cooked chicken, networking for introverts, and about the inspiration behind his new short film, Year Locust, which is funded by Create Louisiana's French Culture Film Grant. Real talk, this is the interview that was the straw that broke the camel's back for my own film career and what helped me finally make the jump I needed to pursue the film dream. If you need a good laugh and inspiration on making that jump, this is the interview for you. Thanks again for listening, and let's get right into the show. So, I learned about you from our mutual friend, John Paul Summers. In his interview, the first interview I did for the podcast, he said about you, and I quote,
I met him at community college. He's my oldest film friend, and he's a cinematographer and a director, and he's super, super talented, and a beautiful human being and hilarious.
What are your thoughts on that?
I honestly am sad that he didn't give me more compliments. I thought, I appreciate it. I always like when he says that, though. Like, he's my oldest film friend, because I'm like, is he saying that because I'm like, 37 or like in a grandpa way? No, but that's pretty accurate. Yeah, like we met, a little community college back when it was like, mini DV tapes and like filming on 35 millimeter adapters. You youngins don't know about the 35 millimeter adapters, man. That was some witchcraft that you had to put on the front of your camera to get like, a dope looking image. But I appreciate him saying all that. And I agree and would say, the same things about him. We have a very similar outlook on, I guess, life and how we want to live our lives, and how he is with his kids, and how I am with mine, and all that good stuff. So yeah, love that guy.
So you said you met at community college through, I guess, were you going for film, or where did your film journey begin? Did it begin before that, or how early did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, oddly enough, so growing up, I was like into comedy and like Saturday Night Live and stuff like that, and sketches, and I was like, man, I really want, I like that. That's super fun. And then I was like, I need to get something that's a little more realistic. And probably even before the comedy stuff, I guess, I was, playing with G.I. Joes and making little stop motion videos, kind of like everyone does, and doing all the camera, the in-camera editing with all of that stuff. And, but as far as actually, making movies and really making anything. It was like I had no clue what the road would even look like. And so this is how like of a big of a disconnect it was, you know, for the small town like Lafayette. It made more sense to me to move to Los Angeles to pursue like basically sketch comedy, right? Versus like finding a job in the film industry where there's like sets with, you know, hundreds of people and hundreds of different jobs. I was like, no. To my, you know, 21-year-old brain, I was like, this makes sense. So it worked for like a year and saved up a bunch of money and just kind of moved out there. And,
oh, you did?
You know, I was trying to see just what was even happening. And, you know, kind of auditioned and got into a few like little improv classes and was doing all of that stuff. And I got a job at the same time at like 20th Century Fox in like the mailroom, like in the package department. I would basically drive around like canisters of film or tape.
Oh my gosh.
Just to different people. And so, I mean, like on lunch breaks, I could watch, like it was Arrested Development and like CSI and House. All of that was, you know, when all of those shows were going on. So you could kind of sit there and see how this, you know, it was a hamburger being made. It was this massive hamburger being made, or sausage, whatever the phrase is.
How the sausage was made.
You know, you get to see that, and then you get to see, in the editing bays, you get to see what they're doing with all of this stuff because you're delivering stuff all around. So, you know, I kind of started ticking back towards film, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to sell. I had some music gear and like a Les Paul that, you know, I worked my whole life, you know, to be able to get that one instrument. You're like, I'm never going to sell this. And like the moment where I saw like a 24p camera, it was the DVX 100 came out, I sold the guitar like within a week and bought a DVX 100. And I was like, well, I guess that's that. I'm not going to be Slash. So yeah. And that's kind of, I bought that just to kind of really record our sketches or kind of whatever, you know, we wanted, really just to experiment. Cause I've never touched anything, you know, beyond like a little Sony Handycam. And that kind of really, you know, you could start seeing how this stuff was, I guess how the look was established,
right,
and how the editing worked and all of that. Yeah, and then you kind of, you know, shoot a few music videos for free, or even some that you self-fund for friends, you know, little short films for family or whatever. And before you know it, you have a really embarrassing reel that you're going to show to people. And I had a friend that, you know, worked at an ad agency, and I'm trying to think of where I was working at the time. It was not in film. I was working for like a medical supply company in Lafayette. And I was, you know, I was ready to just kind of bounce out. And I was like, look, do you have any openings at this agency? And he was like, actually, we're looking for someone with your particular set of skills. He didn't say it like that, but in my head, that sounds better.
Yeah. We're looking exactly for mailroom. No.
Yeah, like someone who has zero experience in actually producing. No, you know, well, they knew, I think they could see based on like the stuff I did that I probably would never show to anyone now. They were like, oh, like at least he like gets what it should look like, and they could see what I was going for, put it that way. Yeah. And so, you know, you kind of got that job, and it was just basically a hybrid agency where they, you know, they'd basically go from soup to nuts in terms of the creative. They would script everything and had in-house production. Yeah, stayed there for a while, and, you know, did some cool stuff, did some stuff that, like I said, I'll probably never show anyone. But I think that's kind of every job. Sometimes you just gotta make a paycheck. But, you know, now, I don't know, I'm in a place where it's like, you know that you can do your best on a job. And it's like, that's all you can hope for. And, you know, all you can wish for, actually. And just to be able to get a paycheck is amazing. I mean, getting to play with cameras, right?
Exactly.
Like if I had met, you know, 20-year-old me, and you'd be like, hey, dude, you're going to be like, you know, hanging out with your friends and kind of just, you know, shooting cool stuff occasionally I'd be like, oh, that sounds awesome. I don't really know what to do, but sure, future self, thanks.
So I was looking at your website recently, and I saw a lot of credits as far as directing and DPing. On your Instagram, it has Logan LeBlanc DP. Is that what your focus is to be a DP after your experience with, I don't know, a number of commercials that are all very good, which we will get into shortly?
I don't know, man. It's like there's some projects where, for the most part, like, you know, some commercial stuff, it's not like you're trying to tap into this emotional gold. You know, sometimes you're just like, look, I know what needs to happen. I know how fast it needs to go. And I can also work with, you know, this actor, actress, whatever. So a lot of the times that stuff, I feel like I can kind of get what I need that much quicker versus, you know, having to stop and defer every time to a director. But also, you know, there is, I don't know, I guess it depends on what you're aiming for, like creatively for that project. Because there's, you know, times like the commercial with John Paul that I don't know if I had ever really had a chance to like do my thing as a DP, like do what I really in my head was trying to build out, right? Because there's, you know, if you're DPing and directing, sometimes you just gotta make the day. It's, you know, you can't like push past 12 hours and all kinds of craziness. So I enjoy certain parts of directing and enjoy certain parts of DPing. DPing is you know, it's nice because it is where I guess the artistic side and the technical side kind of intersect. And I do feel like, I guess it carries just a lot of weight, right? Because you're speaking with this visual language that already exists. You know, a dimly lit living room is going to say something very different than a super, you know, high key, brightly lit living room, you know, with a woman wiping, you know, the counters with a smile on her face, right?
Right.
So you know, that's fun. Like just being able to be like, at a glance, I'm building this, and you instantly know, you know, what it's going to be about. Yeah. And then the directing, you know, if I'm directing, I will probably just go from the beginning and almost, you know, to the base edit, or at least that first edit. You know, I get that, I guess, granular with it just because by that point it's like lived in my head for a while. Sometimes it makes sense to be the director and DP. Sometimes it's just, you know, I guess a budgetary constraint where you're like, oh, where do I find a DP or a director around here?
Yeah.
You know, in a town small like Lafayette, it's like I'm not flying anyone in. We can't necessarily do that. So you basically grow into the positions that you have to. And as, you know, as rewarding as those projects are, when you feel like it all, you know, went off without a hitch, there's definitely a stress factor that comes with that where you're like, well, did I enjoy it though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do I feel like I hit everything out of the park? Because you just look back and you're like, I'd have done this and this and this different. If you're trying to do, you know, wear too many hats, it's like you're going to regret a lot of stuff just because that stress factor gets crazy.
The music video you directed, Sardinian Wine for Lily Brave. I really love that music video and the way it looks, it feels. It seems like it exactly fits the song. It's kind of like spooky, haunting, but also at the same time a beautiful piece. Can you explain the process for that? Because you were both the director and the DP for that music video. Guide us through that process of making that. How did you get the gig in the first place? Was it a friend or?
Well, actually, so yeah, the agency I worked at, the chief creative officer, I think was his title at the time. They changed titles a lot. Well, anyway, he was in this band Lily Brave, and I'd actually played like, you know, a handful of shows with him as a rhythm guitarist. So, you know, we were close friends, and he was like, look, I have this song, like handful of songs that I'm going to be releasing. Listen to them, and, you know, we'll kind of see which one, you know, we want to do a video for. And it was pretty, you know, instantaneous where I was like, well, I mean, how is it not this one?
Yeah.
Just because it kind of, I guess the imagery just kind of started popping up. I don't know. I'm trying to think of where it came from. So it was shot in 2018, but we're just officially releasing it just because kind of change ups with the band and just post and basically finishing. A lot of it was done with, kind of, I guess, favors. So it kind of sits there, and then a pandemic does not help.
For sure.
So
there's not much it has helped.
Right. The face mask industry is celebrating that right now.
That is
and the
true.
hand sanitizing industry. I'll kind of like search through different paintings or like photography or art, just, kind of like everyone, they'll just sit on their phone and just go through stuff on like Flipbook or Pinterest. And I don't remember where the ghostly image of the girl came through, but there definitely was like this somber tone, in the song where, there was the spooky vibe with the organs and kind of that motif that kind of carries throughout. But, there was this sweetness to it. And so, I was like, well, what about, if it's this guy who's still alive, I guess in, our world, the living world, whatever. And, this girl who's the veil, obviously representing death or passing, they're both near each other, but they can't really ever, I guess, interact anymore. Kind of a typical ghost story, but just kind of with a twist. And, we only had 2 locations in like 2 days. So it was like, kind of had to, a lot to get down, but I mean, everyone who like worked on it busted their butts. And, I'm pretty proud. Like when we watched the final edit, after we sent it to a colorist guy named Sam Howells, who graciously donated his time coloring it, we were pretty floored. And I'm very self-critical, especially of like my own work that I direct and DP. But yeah, I definitely felt like we had something special, which is cool because a creative project, something I guess like something like this, Giorgio, the singer, was saying he just did not want him just, performing in some sort of like bar where we just light him, with a bunch of spotlights. And I was like, well, all right, well, let's try to like really try to, get something crazy out of it. So yeah, there's always kind of a dark, I guess a certain darkness with a lot of the stuff that all come up, even in terms of like short films, really anything. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm into that because I'm naturally, I guess, kind of a funnier person. But I do think it catches a lot of people off guard. They're like, "Wow, this is like a video about a couple that gets in a crash." And like my mom, when she saw it, was like, "Did she die?" I was like, "Well, it's a music video, so first off, no one really." Obviously dies, but she's like, well, why would you put that in there? And it's like, I don't know. You gotta have, you gotta have the sour for the sweet sometimes. That's another thing, man. Like it's, I don't know, just being like an artist or being someone who's creative. It's like, as a human, to me, it's like always difficult to look at, yourself and the things that you think and you do and the way you, act.
Yeah.
Much less to be like, hey, you could make up anything and you chose to make up, a music video where someone dies or this. And it's like, I don't know where it comes from, but like, if that's kind of the beauty of film. I was like, I don't know, if I want to see, a car full of, kittens explode, then I'm going to put a car full of kittens exploding. And there's definitely, I guess optimism to me. It's always hidden in there, but it's just, I guess, different things. There's no way you can ever predict how, I guess, the perspective that people are coming to your work from, you know what I mean? Or really anything.
Yeah.
And, everything's going to mean something different to everyone. So it's best definitely not to second guess yourself.
Right. I think you said there's always hope in it, especially in that music video. It's like the love interest definitely, Oh gosh, that sounds cruel. She definitely died. For some reason, that doesn't have a nice ring to it.
Yeah,
the love interest.
She did. You and my mom must have talked. She's definitely dead.
So the love interest dies, but at the same time, even though there is sadness, there's hope because they're still close in their own way. And I think that was really cool, and I think that was well represented. One thing I've also noticed about your work is that a lot of people's work kind of maybe has a similar look throughout. Like they have a definite style. And I believe that you do have a definite style and you can see it. But as I was looking through the videos that you have on your website, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is you know how to adapt your lighting and direction, depending on what you're doing, to the type of ad or film that it is. And I think that is a great thing. Like, I listen to the Wandering DP a lot, and he kind of has a set method, and a lot of his commercials, while they look great, they look the same. When you're able to have that variety, like, do you approach each project completely different, or do you have like a set of rules that you won't break on any of your commercials or films or whatever?
How many listeners do you have to your podcast right now? Let's say like thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, let's say hundreds of thousands.
I don't know. To me, one of the most valuable. It's tricky because you do want to have, like, I guess, your own style, your own voice, and I think there's definitely a way to scratch your creative itch and that technical place that you're trying to get to on a commercial, but still satisfy the look. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes you're selling a product, right? And it's like, yeah, if it makes sense to do this docu-style, piece for Clorox, actually, they have like this, it's probably a couple of years old now, but it's these really beautiful kind of docu-style. Like, if someone told you this was a Clorox commercial, you'd be like, well, okay, you're out of your mind. This looks, just very cinematic. Yeah. But sometimes, like, if the client was like, no, we need, something that's really showcasing the product, and it's got to have like, a pack shot at the end of the whatever you're selling, soda or something. It's like, that's fine. I think it's way more valuable to be able to do a high key fashion shoot, or, shooting a toothpaste commercial. It's like, I want to, I guess, as a DP, be able to know that I can, manipulate any lighting to match what we all agreed on. Yeah. And I would definitely never want to, I don't know, when I'm working with a director, it's like, look, I can only make this as close, to what you want if you're telling me, if you're sharing this with me. That's why I like someone with a super clear vision. It's like, that's amazing. That's the guys who you want to work with, where it's like, no, I totally can see this in my head as you're describing it, or as you're showing me, the mood board, where, if you're having to kind of fill in a lot of blanks yourself, just kind of that chance that, something might not jibe with either the client or, I guess, the agency or kind of whoever. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I'll definitely try to bring as much style as I can. I guess the only rule, like you said before, I kind of say this in like a lot of meetings we used to have at the agency, the sliding scale is not quality. The sliding scale is quantity. And I think I'd use the analogy like, look, you're not, you're still going to get ice cream. You're just not going to get 3 scoops. You're going to get 1 scoop, but it's still going to be really good ice cream. Right? Yeah. It's like, because that seems to kind of always kind of be how it goes. Like they want to do, well, we don't need, a grip. And it's like, yeah, we do need a grip, but you don't need these 2 shots or these 2 setups. So kind of shoving that around. I'd say that's probably the one rule where it's like, look, if we're going to do this, it's hard enough for anything to get made, right? Yeah. It's like, for it to be good, it's like, all right, that's the one rule, I guess. We do a blood oath before every shoot. Everyone puts their hand in, and we all pledge that it's going to be the best lawyer commercial. No.
They worked for the Hafas law or Duval.
Yeah, I think it's Hafas Duval.
Hafas.
I probably butchered it. Hafas.
That sounds right. Hoffest of all. Well, it seemed to
Right,
work. The
that's-
blood oath.
Yeah, right. That's definitely like, man, super proud of that. And probably, I'd probably say, you know, if anyone was like, look, you're going to be shooting a milk commercial tomorrow, I'd be like, all right, well, how do we bend this to, you know, to be cinematic? Because everyone got into this to make movies, right? So it's like, I still have to make this mini movie and have to somehow work in that we're selling, you know, a carton of milk. But I don't know. We're kind of in like a really interesting time with, you know, commercials. It's like, I mean, you remember the insanity of some of the commercials back in like the 90s where it was like a Capri Sun commercial or something, and you're like, this looks insane. Like, it's,
Kids
you know
turned
what I mean?
into
You're
the
like, all right,
Silver
and-
Surfers and fly through.
yeah, you're like, all right, now he's Mercury for some reason. And now it's like, well, no, it's like, it can look like a movie. And you're like, okay, this is awesome. This is like amazing. So there you go.
So I can expect some anamorphic milk commercials in your reel pretty soon.
Oh, dude.
We should do that as a passion project.
Hey, milk industry, here you go. I'll even do almond milk. Like just any type of soy milk. Soy farmers out there. I guess going back to the like styles, yeah, I'm interested in just kind of knowing that I can get where I would want to get, and not. I definitely like for people to work with me because they know that I can do the work and that it'll be good. You know, and if in a year or so or however long, if my, you know, body of work is more reflective of a certain style where it's dark and moody, and it's like, all right, that must be where my brain kind of heads towards. But, you know, as for now, I'm just kind of really trying to see what's out there and trying to see what we can do.
For sure. So one of the posts I saw on your Instagram is that you were, for 2020, you were making the push and you're going freelance full time. Little did we know 2020 would be an interesting year to make that jump. Can you describe going from agency to making the decision to do freelance? And, well, I cut out the "and." That was the end of the question.
No. Leave the "and" in. Travis said "and." So there were some changes in management, and I probably should have like started looking for the door a little quicker, maybe a year or so before I did. But I don't know. It's like I have 2 daughters, and you know, you got a mortgage to pay, you've got bills, and you know, it's very easy to be like, well, if I don't do anything, I can still, you know, go fishing and we can still live this life. And, you know, I'll only have to cry in my car a couple of times a week before. No, I didn't cry. But, you know, there were some days where you know, I'd pull up and I was like, man, I really don't feel like going into work and, you know, trying to force myself to do this. And that was like very apparent to my wife. She'd be like, are you okay? Like, it seems like you're just on another planet. And I was just like, I don't know, man. I really want to kind of start doing my own thing. Because by that point, I was producing a lot of this stuff, writing the scripts, directing, and DPing it. And sometimes even editing it. And then handing it over to, like, you know, the people who would be finishing it and coloring it and adding the animations or whatever we were doing. So there was just like a huge, I guess, stress factor. And then you'd go home, right, at 5-6 o'clock, and you're also not fulfilled because you're like, look, I didn't do anything creative. I don't feel like I'm really trying. I guess I'd probably say the most accurate feeling. I felt like I was on the sidelines and watching, you know, a lot of friends. John Paul, honestly, like, I think he would sometimes, like, we'd joke about, he'd be like, man, I'm super jealous of your steady income. And I was like, oh boy, the price you'd pay for this income, dude. I was like, I'm jealous that you're getting to do all these cool things. And so he would kind of joke about, you know, well, when are you going to just jump out of the plane and try to land? And I was like, I don't know. So I guess basically what all that leads to is there were some shifts in management, shifts in their direction, the company. And I was like, all right, I don't think I belong here anymore. And this is very obvious. And so we just had a meeting, And I kind of went in with my mind made up, and I was like, I don't think I'm the right fit for you guys anymore. And yeah, they kind of, the boss the other day, we got this film grant for this short film that we're going to be producing, and my old boss messaged me this very nice text, and it was kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like I think he knew that I was going to land on my feet and survive, but I certainly didn't. And it definitely feels like I'm in a better place, and I hope they are as well. So
one thing that has been a constant in every interview I've done is that there is a point, it's always different, but a point where someone just has to make the jump. And it's always kind of extreme, but it almost seems like that's a requirement. If you're going to go full-time freelance, like there's no in between. That's what I'm learning. These people that are doing it, making it work, they have to make the jump. And maybe it's because I'm interviewing people who are doing great work, but so far the people I've interviewed have not failed at it. They're continuing to do it, and they continue to do good stuff. So at least I'm just noting that down. At some point, if you want to, get things done, do great things, you've got to go for it. Whatever the circumstances.
For sure. Basically, when you jump, and definitely you start having to look for, well, what's someone else doing? What's he doing? What are they doing that I'm not doing? Right? You have to start looking. Like, I revamped my website once I quit. I re-edited my reel once I quit, and that all led to other better things. I started paying, a little more attention, trying to push on social media, which I'm really bad at. But like, I've worked with more new people in the past, it's not even been a year, and I've done my best work in the past, probably 5 years within a matter, not even a year, like within a matter of months.
Wow.
And that's all because, like, you have to have kind of a fire under your...
Yeah.
It's like, it basically accelerates that. And I think, if the podcast being about hometown, smaller, I guess, markets, Lafayette is very chill, right? Everything is slow, and everything can kind of just wait, a few more weeks for this project to happen, a few more months. And it's like, I don't think that doesn't bode well for, I guess, cinematographers or directors. Or it's these little worlds that you create that everything happens so fast.
Yeah.
And if you're on set and if you're going to shoot these projects 10 times a month, well, then you're going to be learning that much quicker what you like, what you can do, what this light does, what crew you should have had, versus, having 10 projects a year where you're like, all right, I guess I got to try to do as much of my homework as I can. You know what I mean? It's, I guess it's kind of a different animal, and it's like you really do have to just kind of hold your own feet to the fire. And yeah, I don't know if that's, I guess if you're into filmmaking at all, you're kind of have to be a self-starter, right? Yeah. Or you'd have to be insane to get in, I guess, to try to get into it. One of the two. Or you're just very fortunate and your dad's like Ivan Reitman or something, and you get into it that way. Which Jason Reitman, he's still very talented, so if you're listening to this, Jason, call me. I don't know what for.
I'll make sure he does.
But does that make sense? Where, like, that pressure cooker is like, if there's no pressure,
there's no incentive to go out there and make things happen.
Right. Right, exactly. And
the pressure cooker. I like that
you
analogy.
Basically, diamonds, baby. Or we were talking about pressure cooker for chicken. I don't know. I still don't know what a pressure cooker is. So
chicken.
You put your jewelry in it, right?
Diamond studded chicken. I like it all.
Now we're talking. I don't know if I ever really answered your question about the pandemic, but yeah. I guess that did kind of answer it with, 2020, as weird as it's been, like, I definitely am in a better place. And, and that even trickles down to, like, your family life and everything. And so, yeah, if you're looking to make that jump, there was this, like, guy named Craig. Oh, man. He owns a rental company, and we're friends on Facebook. But anyway, I posted in one of these forums, like, look, I really am, questioning a lot of decisions in this agency, staying here, whatever. And he literally was like, quit tomorrow, save your soul. That was his post. And I was like, this guy's bad. Like, I'm not quitting tomorrow. And then like a month later, I was like, I am quitting tomorrow. And I was like, man, okay. It really is that easy. But like, just be real with yourself, be honest with yourself that like, look, I have a skill set. It might not be where I want to, get it, but as long as you know that you can make good stuff that people want, and you can make a living at it or something close to a living, I don't know. It's like from where I'm sitting now, it feels pretty good. So yeah, agency life, not all is cracked up to be. End of podcast right there.
End of podcast.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Agency is good. Honestly, I learned a lot of stuff in terms of like producing and there's probably a bunch of pieces that I have, on my reel that wouldn't have happened had I not been there. So I can't bash agencies too much, but it's time to, sometimes, you got to know when to grow and know when to leave and know when to hold them, It's a Kenny Rogers joke. I don't know. Kenny Rogers kids, do you millennials know Kenny Rogers?
I've heard of him.
He knew when to hold him.
I know that making a film takes a lot of talented people if you want it to turn out great. Do you have a approach to networking and meeting other filmmakers and colorists, directors, whatever they may be? Do you have a method of doing that, or is it they know your work, they reach out to you, and you're just a boss?
Man, it's kind of, I definitely wish I were more like of a social butterfly. I think I'm like, like to be loud and make jokes, but it's like gotta be with my little cluster of friends. But my wife is kind of like, I don't know, she's like, you can kind of start any conversation with anyone, don't you notice that? And I'm like, yeah, but that's after like 3 hours of me avoiding everyone else. So I probably need to like get, because it feels weird, right? If you're like, you have to like ID who's a producer or a director, and then like I found it more beneficial to me if I know that I'm not going over to just have this lead to something, like to genuinely be interested, even if it's just like, hey man, I like that pin that's on your jacket. Like I would rather that be a segue into like a conversation that might, end up about peanut butter. I think that that's more valuable. If you have the body of work there, like they're going to remember that, you're not a complete idiot, and that you can do the work, and that you were a genuine person. I'd say that's probably like what I struggle with a lot of the times at, we went to like this conference, and I was just, you're kind of mortified, and you kind of just look for other people who are nervous too. And,
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, because you're like, oh, who are the A-type personalities? And it's like, well, I know who's not. That's me trying to
look at all those people talking to each other, huh? Yeah.
Weirdos. Let's stand over here in this dark corner and sip on this cup of water for another 2 hours. No, but I think like once I kind of, once you know that you can actually just talk to someone, and I mean, conferences, any place that you're going to end up where there's a bunch of people, it's all people that are interested in movies, even if they're just patrons who are coming to like a film festival. Yeah. There's still, I don't know. I would rather put that out into the universe, like, an artist who's just genuinely interested in people, versus like, well, this guy who's really looking to kind of like make some moves and some cash. Like, I don't know if that's me. And that's why I think it's, if you have a good body of work, which I mean, I'm still, aiming at that point on the horizon. If they see that you can do it and you make a good impression, like for you to be friends on Instagram, on Facebook and follow them on Instagram, that feels more organic, because then, I might comment like, oh, looking good, or wow, that shot was crazy, or whatever. And so I at least find for myself, I don't, I can't really schmooze.
Yeah.
But I can talk to you about peanut butter, like I said before. Unless they have a peanut allergy, then those conversations really, really go south fast.
Well,
Peanut farmers of America, call me.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, EpiPen too. EpiPen, call me too. That's working. See, that's awesome. That's a shoehorned, segue. That's not good. That's not organic.
I mean, the peanut butter could be organic.
That's true. Now we're talking semantics. That's an organic. Yeah, I needed an organic peanut, segue. Like, it's got to be organic.
Yeah.
What about no pesticides? Now people are like, what are they talking about? What is this podcast about? Organic food.
So, a lot of my work, at least on my YouTube channel, the stuff that I should take down but I haven't, is a lot of stuff that I enjoy, and no one else probably will ever understand. But I think it's funny that people don't understand it. So, that whole peanut butter part was like, that's why I live. That's what I live for. So, and it also, if you land an organic peanut butter ad, I accept 5% royalties.
So dude, if that happens, believe me, you're getting that 5% in peanut butter. It's like 200 jars of organic peanut butter. Well, you never specify. No, that'd be rad.
Things are just happening, and I like where this is going. You had talked about the grant that you got. Could you go into more detail about what that entails and the process of receiving the grant, what it's going to look like, and what we can expect to see because of it?
Yeah, so the state every year, they team up with a bunch of different, sponsors for this film grant called Create Louisiana. TV 5 Mall, it's they're kind of, the French-speaking network. They have like an international presence. They're, kind of the big sponsors, and I guess the company that pushes this grant. But basically South Louisiana, they kind of view this as like I don't want to say the Paris of the South, but basically the intersection of a lot of French-speaking languages, like Francophone culture. That's like French-speaking culture. And so they feel like they have an interest in, I guess, displaying that and kind of celebrating that. And I had, friends who have won it in previous years, and working at an agency, I was like, well, man, we're never going to have time to like write a script. Well,
yeah.
Freelance, time happens, and then a pandemic happens. So I was like, look, I'm going to either lose my mind, and start like, competitive Lego building, or like I can do something useful. And so I, got together with a friend, and we actually had a mutual coworker that, I'm still very good friends with him. He's Haitian, and his family moved to Louisiana because they spoke French and it was warm. And that always I was like, what a wild, 7 kids moved here. And I was like, that's so crazy that, that you and I are having this conversation, Jean is his name, because the climate, was agreeable enough for people coming from a tropical, climate, and we spoke French.
Yeah. So
now we're friends. And it was kind of, he would tell me about the struggles. Actually, we were, eating lunch today, and he was saying, he still hears people. They're still out there, I guess, people that'll say like, well, why don't you go back, to your own country, which it's like, well, it's 2020 and that's obviously insane. But as far as the grant, went, I was like, look, this is what I think this is my Louisiana Francophone experience, right? I was like, and this is a real thing. So that was like, Jean's story was a very big influence in the story that we wanted to tell. And it was kind of a story that existed in my head for a couple of years, honestly. I'm sure if you're a writer or anything, like there's 200 things in your brain at all times, but this was one that kind of kept bubbling to the top. And we decided to just kind of, I guess, go down that road of telling the character, his name is Renee, kind of telling Renee's story. Renee's, story about landing in, the U.S. and trying to assimilate and, maintaining his culture, the struggle, I guess, of that. When you're entering a country that there are parts of it that, celebrate the differences, but there are also huge, I guess, sets of people that are like, look, we want you to come here. We want you to sound like us, look like us. Yeah. And that's, especially kind of living in the South, that's a real thing. And that kind of, I guess, is why we ended up going with that instead of a more traditional. We were actually kind of nervous. I was like, this is not a terribly traditional Cajun story.
Yeah.
But that ended up being kind of what, when we did our pitch through a Zoom meeting, which I'm actually forever grateful for that being how we had to do it and not like in front of a boardroom of people. That resonated the most, right? Because like I said before, that's my like Louisiana French speaking experience. The fact that I have this guy who's from a completely different world that I'm not, I don't understand. He's here and we're having, dinner with my family.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I want to celebrate as much as I love everything else about Cajun culture. And actually in the story, that kind of all, I guess, circles back how Cajuns were outcasts and brought here. And, speaking French was eventually, it wasn't outlawed, but they were like, we're not going to allow it in public schools, public offices, courthouses and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that circles back. And I don't know, it's definitely a story that we're like super excited, I guess, to share.
Yeah. That's a unique story.
Yeah. I definitely, we were scared, but they were like, no, this is, something different, a different angle. So I was like, it's cool to have someone, I guess, see what believe in the idea that you're presenting, because we definitely did not think it was going to happen. I was like, they might just want, some people in a pirogue on the swamp. And I was like, I don't know. Not this year.
I love hearing about the idea. Our last guest we had was Thomas Manning from Arizona, and he had a very strong opinion. Like, why do we keep making the same movie over and over again? It's like, I've watched so many movies and they're completely unoriginal, and I think he would be very happy with this story, because I'm in the South as well, but I have never heard of a story quite like that. Of one, I think just Louisiana as a state having the French culture and French language is interesting all by itself, and meeting people that grew up as French as their first language in the U.S. I think that's
wild, right?
That's wild. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think this is a very unique take, and I think it's going to be something I look forward to watch. Is it going to be a feature or a short feature?
No. So the grant, I wish we could get up to like what's like considered a feature, like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I wish we could inflate it to that, but it's probably going to be just about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Just because kind of once, the actors, coming from Florida, he's actually a Haitian immigrant, and we're like super excited to like find him. And oddly enough, the Cajun, the old Cajun woman, Odile, she was hardest to cast, and I was like, are you for real? How can I not have my pick of the litter with older Cajun women? But it's kind of how that went. But
do you have an expected film date?
I think we kind of have to have a final cut for review early December.
Okay.
But we're going to be filming kind of end of October. So maybe around Christmas time, we'd have like kind of a final cut, which that'd be amazing. Just the idea of something coming out around film festival time. But yeah, I'd probably say December. We should have something to see. And unless it's bad, then you guys are never gonna see it. You've heard it here first. No,
I look forward to seeing it or not seeing it.
Everyone that is on board with it is like all, it's all good people. And so, yeah, they definitely, they keep you pushing and they kind of keep corralling everything that needs to happen. The producer, her name is Allison Bowl DeHart, and she's like another local filmmaker.
I think I met her. Side note, that's not something the whole podcast needs to know. I went to...
No. Where did you meet Allison? Now we need to know.
It was at the...
No, have you been to Louisiana?
Southern Screen. I went to one of JP's little conferences where he talked about interviewing or doing like documentary type lighting.
The doc, natural light kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. Allison is she is probably one of like the strongest filmmakers in like Lafayette. I definitely like say hands down, and she knows like
oh really
every aspect of it. Like she knows and would know how to get there, and if she wouldn't, she's like, well, this would be who would get you there. And yeah, the fact that she like jumped on board, I kind of almost was like, do you know what this is gonna be? I'm directing this dumb me. You're sure you're okay with that?
This is not a peanut butter ad.
But this isn't a classic peanut butter commercial like you're used to, okay? This is a short film, mama. But yeah, she was like, she's definitely been kind of keeping the steam in the engine because, you still have to work in between doing stuff for the short film, and she's never, there's just an email away like, hey, checking in, or update on this. And I'm like, oh yeah, we got to shoot that short.
That's a fun phrase.
No, I'm actually excited. We've locked in all our talent and like locked in, most of the locations. And so now it's like, okay, now you get to kind of see what it's going to be, and you're kind of closer because, when it's all in your head and you've already signed a contract that you're going to shoot this short film with, an international company, it's like, oof, there's a little bit of pressure there, but like I said, the pressure cooker analogy, dude.
Exactly.
We want them chickens to turn into diamonds, right? That's how it works.
Exactly.
I don't know things.
I don't even know if I asked you in this film, you wrote it and you were directing and DPing, or are you divvying that out?
So a friend of mine, Trevor Navarre, we wrote it together.
Okay.
And I am DPing and directing.
Okay. You going for it.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna either make it happen or fail real hard. But, yeah, actually, so the grant, basically because of COVID, they had to like lop off, a decent chunk, which I was still leaning towards directing and DPing. But I did, I would have liked the flexibility where if I was like, hey, I'm bringing in someone else to DP this, it would have made sense financially. But yeah, they kind of, which I completely understand. And honestly, we're still just excited to be able to make anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm feeling good about it. I got, like I said, good people surrounding me, and it's all people, it's all friends and people that we've worked, I'm going to be working with some people tomorrow that are going to be on it, just on different jobs. So everyone kind of, has a shorthand or understands what you're talking about. So cool. I ain't even sweating it. JP, actually, he's going to be cam-opping it. So,
well, you're in good hands.
Like, I don't want to have to hold a camera unless I want to hold a camera.
Well, y'all have a good relationship.
So,
he might let you hold it.
Yeah. Can I, sir? But yeah, man, I'm super excited just to kind of see what comes out the other end, kind of what what we can take away from it, what we can learn.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see it. I'll find a way to see it even if you don't want me to. So if
we changed the name of it to Inception, I'm like, hang on, that's already a movie. I'm like, nope, that's it. It's Inception. I don't even know why I would have gone with Inception. There's a lot of other movies I'd rather steal, but Inception came to mind.
that came to mind when you said it. Stupid. So people are going to want
a podcast within a podcast, dude. The Inception podcast. Sorry. See, just being like stupid, like you could probably do a separate podcast with just like the dumb jokes.
Yeah. I would enjoy that podcast. I would listen. So I know people are going to want to follow you. Where would you say is the best place they could follow your work and get ready for this film, which has not been named?
Oh, 17. Yeah, I have not named it yet. 17 Year Locust is the name of the short film.
Okay.
So there's a page, 17 Year Locust Film. If you look on Facebook, follow that. That would be great. We're going to be putting stuff that updates or stills from once we begin production, all of that kinds of stuff. Instagram, Facebook, kind of the classics, and got a website which you for some reason have to have, but it's really just like a virtual gallery of your work. But lmleblanc.com, or on Instagram, Logan LeBlanc DP.
I will have links upon links. I appreciate you being on the show. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and my cheeks hurt, and I feel like I got an ab workout. So, well, thank you for chatting with me, and I look forward to seeing your work in the future. You're going to do awesome things.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Continue to do awesome things.
Yeah, continue.
And that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps you do great work, be the artist you want to be, and helps you to not be afraid to jump in with both feet and make things happen in your film community. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do not subscribe. Whatever you do, do not leave a positive review on iTunes. That would only allow more people to find the show and be inspired by these filmmaker stories. So stay tuned for our next awesome guest on the Hometown Hollywood podcast.
If I know that a camera is on, I mean, it's like, I'm not photogenic, but once the camera is like, I know it's in my orbit and I could end up, you want to be like serious and like, I probably just should start doing stupid stuff like, because then it's like, oh, that's a fun guy to have on set. Not like, that guy looks constipated, or he looks like he's straining to hold that camera. And the faces, I'll just work on those. Oh, look at that delayed laugh. That better have been like the internet buffering, not a pity laugh.